Hello, I'm Nigel Griffiths. I work in Advanced Technical Support, Power Systems, IBM Europe. In this Director6 movie, we're going to use VMControl, the image management part of it, to deploy virtual appliances. In proper technical speak, this is getting Director6 to create logical partitions and do a nim install of a makesysb that was previously captured with Director. Before we deploy our virtual appliance, we need a few things set up. Obviously, we've got to have Director6 and VMControl installed and the VMControl agent installed on the nim server that is controlling one of our repositories. We've previously got to have a virtual appliance captured. That's fairly obvious. Of course, we've got to have somewhere to put this new virtual appliance, so we need a target machine. And note there that Director by default will pick up the names of machines from your HMCs, and by default they will be using the serial numbers of the machines. So you have to know the serial number of your target machine. You can rename those on the HMC, or you can rename those in Director if you want to. But you have to know which machine you want to put the new logical partition on. The captured CPU and memory will be used in your new deployed virtual appliance. A good point there perhaps that when you actually do a capture, maybe it's worth taking those numbers down, and so that you have a smaller footprint if you want to make a copy of it. You can always make those larger later on. It will also allocate the same disk space that it's captured, and you'll have to decide whether you want that on a local disk inside the VIO server, or whether you're going to allocate a LUN device, and you've got to have the LUN devices online, of course. It will allow you to connect to the network, and when you actually do the deploy, it will ask you for the IP addresses to use, so we can set those individually for each logical partition. We've also got to have online and have good access to the HMC that's going to be used and the VIO server. And how do we define good access? Well, we'll look at this in another movie, but early deployments that I tried that failed were actually down to this connection to the HMC and the VIO server not being quite right. Let us quickly use a diagram to show what's going on, and then we'll understand more about the process while we're actually doing it. On Director then, you go to the VMControl panel and you say, I want this appliance put onto that machine with this new host name and this new IP address. Fairly simple process, that bit's very easy. It then contacts the HMC and VIO server to create the logical partition and assign the network and disks that you actually want. Control is then passed to the VMControl sub-agent on the nim server. It actually then talks to the HMC to boot up the logical partition you just created to find the MAC address. It will actually stop the logical partition at that point, and you can get worried that it's all stopped. Don't worry, because the next thing it's going to do is actually use the makesysb that's part of the appliance to actually create a spot, and it'll be using this to actually boot it up. So it will come up, the logical partition will come up, then it will go down, and it will stay down for a few minutes while the nim server does its work, and then it will come back up and start doing the network install. An important point there is not to worry when you see the logical partition being stopped. Once that's all done, we have nim installed. That will go as you'd expect if you've used nim in the past. We find that in Director that it will already have discovered your new operating system, and it set up access to it. Now I assume that because it knew how to get access to the logical partition that it captured, it uses the same root passwords to actually get into this newly created logical partition, and you'll find it's already online inside a Director. You will have to then set up your own inventory collection. That won't happen for you, and you'll decide probably do one immediately so that Director understands this new logical partition, and you may want to start it up doing that at irregular intervals. You'll also, of course, need to get inventory running on your HMC and VIO server to pick up the virtual resources, but hopefully you've already set up inventory collection for those, perhaps once a day, but again you may want to do an extra one right now so that Director's fully in control. So let's deploy a virtual appliance. It's worth reading this, learning more about the first time in here. We'll just click Next. Next we need to decide which appliance we want. AUX with a compiler. If we hover over it, it tells us that. Then we have to decide which machine we actually want to do this on. I know it's this A21 machine. You can rename these. These are the names of the machines as they appear on a HMC. We can also deploy to an existing virtual server, which is a logical partition. Now let's talk to the VIO server. There's only one on this machine, and it's asking which storage pool do we actually want to allocate it to. Well, I'm going to go for the new VG one. There's plenty of space in there. It's saying which network do we want to actually use. There is only one in this case. It's the bridge one out to the real world via the VIO server, so that's fine. Now in here it's asking for a few details that are unique to this new machine. The first one here I think is the one that gets used as the logical partition name, and so we'll use bronze 4. Then we need a static IP address for it. Then it wants another short host name. This is the one for the actual host name. I'll keep those the same, saves a lot of mucking about. There's a blank one on here for a secondary DNS where we don't have that on my network, and there's some other NIM specific things here we could use but we don't need to, so we'll next that. It's given me a summary of what I want to do. I can double check that I've got the right virtual appliance, the right machine and the right setup. So we'll just click finish there, and we'll get the usual, do you want to do this now or schedule it. Let's put the name of the target in here. It makes it easy to find it in the list of jobs. As normal, we shouldn't be sitting here watching these things. We'll come back later on. We can see it's getting on with this job. It's gone to 25%. If we now go to the HMC, we can see it's already created a logical partition, bronze 4, on the right machine. 0.8 of a CPU, and just off the screen there's 1 GB of memory. This came out of what was captured, and we see it's brought it up. This code here means it's deciding the console to use. Pretty sure this is the startup to get the MAC address, and it will shut down a few minutes later. Okay, so here's the NIM server, Diamond 5, and we can see running up here, sometimes they are, restore by name. So this is the building the information ready for the installation. We need to create a spot ready for this installation, so it's doing that now. We can see here that it's gone non-active again now. Now we shouldn't be fiddling about on the NIM server, but if we do smitty nim and perform administration tasks, we can ask about machines, just list all machines, and we can see there it's created a machine called bronze 4, so that's being worked on. Now we can see that it's starting up again here. Managed to catch it at just the right time, so the E178 FTP transfer. This is the NIM server putting the boot image onto the logical partition. Starting the kernel. Now the install is happening via NFS. Remember when we captured this appliance, it went into a directory that started 222. If we look in the exports in here, these are the NFS exports, so we can see here's that directory in which the Mexis B was found. It's read-only, and it's been exported to our new logical partition. Again, this is the NIM server. We can see it transmitting on the network bursts of packets. It will be downloading, or the logical partition will be reading via NFS some large packages, then it go quiet for a bit as it does the install, and then it come back and pull again from the network another large package. So this looks like a particularly big package being pulled down, sitting 4 megabytes a second. But you will see some gaps. There we are, there's a bit of a gap. It's now taken that file, it will do the install, update the disks, and then come back for some more. Here we go, we've got some more data now. If I had to guess, I think we're about halfway through. We can see we got to 30% here. Let's open it up and have a look at the logs. Oh, it just went to 50% as we were doing that. And the logs may not actually say very much. It's warning you that it may take a few minutes to actually do the install. Okay, 50% and running. Okay, we now can see that bronze 4 is here and it's gone into the running state rather than the installing state. We can still see some transfers going on here, but then I'm installing 2 logical partitions at the same time, so I guess that's the other one. And yet I've gone to look at it on the other HMC and it's still C54, so that'll catch up in a bit. Okay, it looks like we're doing the rebooting now onto the hard disk. Let's have a look at Director. We're still at 55% here. Okay, the other install is actually finished, so the NIM server has gone a bit quiet, as you might expect. Any minute now we should be able to log into the new logical partitions. Okay, there we are. If I can remember the password, we can get logged in, and we have a C compiler, so it's the right image. And if we look at the director, yep, we've gone to 100% and complete. The other one's going to catch up in the next couple of minutes. Well, no, it actually happened just as I was talking, so both of them completed. And if we navigate to the new virtual appliance, bronze 4 in this case, we'll see it's already set up access, so it's already running the right daemons. Remember when we captured the logical partition, it knew the super user password to get access, so it knows the super user password when this came up, so it sorted itself out, so we don't have to do that. It's reporting a minor problem here. If we click on that for a minute, we'll see there's a whole bunch of these minor reports in here, and this is just reporting that the state of the logical partition went off, on, and in other state. This is actually it starting and stopping the logical partition as part of the installation process. So we can select action, select all, and we can delete those that are unlikely to happen again. We could do though an inventory. I'm pretty sure that won't have been done yet. So it says none there, so we should kick off one now and perhaps one each night. Well, that's my movie on VMControl deploying virtual appliances. You may have noticed it took us, I don't know, half a minute to actually request it, and then we spent quite a long time monitoring as it happens. Of course, you shouldn't normally sit there monitoring what's happening. You should just kick it off and come back in half an hour or so and find your new logical partition up and running. Also note that if you didn't get this movie from this particular website on the screen, you might find you're seeing a low resolution version of it, as I know a number of people copy the movies but reduce the size of the movie, in which case you can't read a lot of the details on the screen.